Welcome, everyone, to the RDH Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chad, and alongside me is my brother, Tanner, believe it or not. How's it hanging, dude?
It's good. It's good. I've been doing a lot of nothing. I bought the new 2K game, or I guess the newest 2K game, because it was on sale for
Okay,
like $10, and I bought it. I've been playing that
okay.
recently, so it's pretty fun. It's just like the old one, but uh, it's cool. I don't know. I got drafted to the Nuggets, so I'm having a good time.
Yeah, well, as a Lakers fan, I'm not having too good of a time right now with the Nuggets. That's pretty funny. I had no clue you were doing that. But on the 2K, are you playing it on PS4 or PC?
I'm just playing it on my PC.
Okay. So do you have the new? Is the PC the new version where you have the like the dynasty mode and all that, or you start with the old NBA eras team?
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw that option in one of them.
Yes, everyone, we are a sports podcast, and we may have got off on a bit of a tangent, but real quick, Tanner, 2K, that mode where you can go start in the Jordan era, then you can go to the Magic and Bird era, then the Jordan era, then the Shaq, then Kobe, and then LeBron. That's one of the best game modes I've ever played in my entire life, and one of the reasons I got the PS5. So you definitely need to check that one out. But to bring it back to the sports world, not video game wise, today we're gonna jump into some NBA playoffs, the NBA draft lottery, if you haven't heard, and somebody's team got the number one overall pick on this podcast. I'm not going to say who. And then we're going to hit a little NHL playoffs, and then there was another draft, the NHL lottery. We have some NFL division winners. So Tanner and I each picked the division winners of each division in the NFL. So it's gonna be a fun one, and we'll see if we agree, kind of like we did on the Cowboys episode. You ready to get into this sports stuff, Tanner?
Heck yeah, there's a lot of sports. Let's get into it.
A lot of it. So go ahead and tip us off with the NBA players recap.
So with the playoffs, it was a fun like end to the second round. I'll pull it up real quick, but the two matchups that we do have right now are the Nuggets and the Lakers, of course, right?
Yep.
And then on the other side, you have the Heat and the Celtics.
Yep.
So um, before I want to say anything, I made my picks before this, and I picked the Nuggets and I picked the Celtics to go to the finals. Luckily, the Nuggets won one game last night, so that was kind of cool. Um, but yeah, I don't know. What did you think about the end of the Golden State series and the end of the Phoenix series?
I mean, I think the Golden State series. I think that the Lakers, Golden State won another game in that series, and then
Yeah,
every Lakers fan was kind of on their heels. But then the Lakers shut it down and got some well needed rest. And then you look at the rest, like Anthony Davis last night when the Lakers lost to Nuggets. Anthony Davis had 40. He had the
yeah,
most points on the
yeah.
court. LeBron had like 26. Austin Reeves was in the 20s. Like the Lakers didn't play a bad game. It's just you usually don't score 130 points on the Lakers. The Lakers are usually a little bit better defensively, and
Hmm.
they kind of went down to the Nuggets not level because the Nuggets are the number one team in the number one seed in the NBA and arguably the best team out of the West. Um, I don't know, that series to me is a little interesting, but to hit on the Phoenix series at the end of the Phoenix series, I thought that Book showed up, and I thought KD also showed up, but they didn't both show up in the same games. And
Yeah,
that's kind of how they lost. I think that the Lakers had a worse matchup against the Nuggets, like I've said before, but at the same time, when the Nuggets come out there and drop 130 plus on the Lakers in game one, that's a little scary. I also did the picks, you know what I mean, and I picked the Lakers to win, and I want to say seven, and I think this series is going to go 6 or 7.
okay. I mean, it's fair. I didn't think that the Lakers were gonna, I don't know, destroy Golden State as much as they did. It was kind of surprising to me. They're a really really good team, and I just AD and LeBron. If they're on the court at the same time, it's kind of similar to what you're saying with KD and Book. Like there's just something there, and they just lead this team, and they play really really well, and their depth in that series specifically was really good. And I don't think you can argue that. And then with the Phoenix and the Nuggets series, I think the Nuggets were just a better team. As much
Yeah.
as it hurts to say, because the Suns have like a star-studded roster. You could say that their roster is better than Denver's overall on paper, right? But I think Denver just has like the better system, and they kind of have like one of the only true home field advantages in the NBA with where they play because it's in Denver and it's a higher altitude and it's just harder to play there especially when you're traveling the country going to different altitudes and stuff. It is a genuine difference and we saw that um, whatever night it was, I think Tuesday night, Monday night with the Lakers in the Nuggets series. They put up 130 but like you said though, the Lakers didn't even play a bad game, you know. AD dropped 40. And it's a
Yeah,
little interesting in that series if you want to look at like the matchup between Jokic and AD. I don't know. I don't know because sometimes AD gets the better of him, sometimes Jokic gets the better of him, and it's gonna be
I
fun to watch
think
those two go back and forth.
I agree, and I think to hit on that point, AD dropped 40. I think Jokic was the second leading scorer behind him, or at least the third, very close to it, in the 30s. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, hey, they're going to probably put up 30 or 40. Let's try to limit the offensive rebounds. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? If I'm the coach, that's how I'm going into it. Of course, AD, you know, same thing with Jokic, but I mean, AD his game is built on defense. You know what I mean? His game is absolutely built on defense, and he showed that at Kentucky, and he also showed that he could pop a three at Kentucky, and I feel like he was doing that before a lot of the other centers were. You know what I mean? And he was good from out there too. But Jokic he's the Joker for a reason. You don't have that nickname unless you're one of the baddest on the planet, and he's one of the baddest on the planet.
yeah.
And I'm not even going to touch on his off-season workouts. Like the dude probably just like runs over trees in his backyard. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I think
The
he had like a double double at halftime last night, which is kind of crazy.
almost in the first quarter.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
I almost had a double double starting the first quarter. At the end of the first quarter, I was like, okay, that's not start. They want to start Lakers. But hit on the other series?
Let's go. Yeah, let's move over to the East, and we have this game hasn't started yet. It'll start tonight, probably in like an hour or two. But it's the Heat and the Celtics, the 8th seed going up against the 2 seed. I don't know. I just can't pick against the Celtics here because I thought the 76ers were really good, and the Celtics took it to them. So naturally, I just think that the Celtics are a really good team. I mean, Jason Tatum is just ridiculous. That guy's insane, and it's just like with the Heat, they played really well. Don't get me wrong, and they beat Milwaukee, who were the 1 seed. But I don't know. The Celtics, they just look like a really good team, and they look like they're going to go to the finals. And I know Jimmy Butler's been playing his butt off, but he can't do it all by himself.
Not against the Celtics team that
Exactly.
has really good defensive players and an offensive player in Jason Tatum. They can go for 50. I mean, I'm glad I picked Boston. I've been picking Boston against Philly for years to come now. I got that one right this year when I picked them. It took them till Game 7, and at a point it didn't look like it was going to happen when
Yeah.
Philly went up 3-2 on them, but came back and Boston did what they usually do, and they played defensive basketball. And Jason Tatum, like I said, dropped a 50 burger in a Game 7 elimination game to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. That is a star. That's a star in this league, and he is one of the best players in this league. And don't see him slowing down.
Yeah.
And the selfish fan in me wants Boston and LA. It's one of the most historic rivalries in all of sports. Is it going to happen? I still got my boys in 7 with the Lakers, and I do have Boston taking the Heat potential matchup, but Denver right now, like I said, looks like a very scary team. But bringing it back to the Heat, like you said with Jimmy Butler, I agree. Jimmy Butler has been the best player in this playoffs. It's not even close. You could probably put Book second, and then after Game 1, you're probably putting AD 3, Jokic there at 4 for best playoff players so far. And like you said, it's only one guy, and it's really hard for one guy to do it, especially against a defensive team, like I said, like the Celtics.
Yeah.
They got Robert Williams down low, and that guy is a blocking machine. His whole game is defense. I went to school with him,
Hmm.
went to class with him, and that dude is very, very good. And when people are driving the lane, he's very, very good at sending it the opposite way. So it's going to be a really hard series for Jimmy Butler. Do I think Jimmy continues? Yes. I think that the teams that Miami has faced so far in the playoffs, no disrespect to them, but they're no Boston Celtics.
I agree.
There's a reason that the Celtics have been there for however long Jason Tatum's been there, past like 3-4 years. It feels like at this point. So got Boston. I got Boston. I know I should give the Heat more respect, but I got Boston in probably 5 or 6, 6 max. But I could see it going 5. I definitely think Jimmy Butler has steals one game, potentially even 2 games. But I just think this Boston team is so good, and Tatum right now is on another level.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's gonna go 6 or 7, just because I know the Heat are a good team, and down the stretch they're gonna take, like you said, 1 or 2, and maybe even 3. But I think it's gonna go to 6 or 7.
And are we done on the NBA playoffs?
Yeah, we're pretty much done in the NBA playoffs if we want to talk about the draft lottery.
Draft lottery. Go ahead and take it away, Spurs fan.
So the San Antonio Spurs secured the #1 overall pick in this upcoming NBA draft, and I didn't think it was going to happen. I mean, if you don't know what the lottery is, it's basically like just pretty much you have a percentage chance to get whatever pick that they pull for you. So like they'll pull from like 15 all the way down to 1 or whatever it is, and then based on your chances, you can get a pretty good pick. And if you can have like a 1% chance to still get the #1 pick, even if you're not the worst team. So it's kind of cool. But San Antonio secured it, and they're
Unless you're Detroit.
oh, that sucks.
They're not very happy. Worst record in the NBA last season and got like the 4th pick.
Yeah,
That that is brutal, and
they
I
were
would be livid if
they,
I was a
they were
Pistons fan.
tied for like I think it was between them, San Antonio, and Houston, and for the first overall pick, like the highest percentage, I think it was like 14%. But I think it goes like it's like San Antonio, then Charlotte, and then somebody else. I think it might be Houston. Houston's in the top
Yeah,
four, I think. But
Houston is for sure.
yeah, I am really excited because they are going to draft Victor Wembanyama, and he is so good. Oh my gosh, one of the best prospects to come out since LeBron James, and possibly people are saying that he's going to be the best prospect ever in the NBA draft. And what a better place to go to than San Antonio. I mean, he's gonna be a fit anywhere he goes, but pair him up with Popovich, and Pop's gonna make him right. You know, this is what Pop does. He takes good, talented, raw players, and he transforms their game into something that's Hall of Fame level. I mean, you've seen it before with previous first round picks from the Spurs and
Previous
Robinson
number
and Timmy
one.
Duncan. Yeah, like
Yeah, I was gonna say previous number one with Tim Duncan. That's. I mean, he's not even. I'm gonna call him Vic. That's gonna be my nickname for him.
yeah, I like
Vic.
it.
Vic. He's he is. I don't watch a ton of college basketball aside from March Madness.
Yeah,
Other than that, I really don't watch a ton of college basketball. So, but he's not in college, right? He's in I think the French amateur league or something. I don't know. But
yeah,
regardless, I don't know how one of his games on one of the streaming services, and I caught it, and I was like, "Who this guy? Oh, there he is." He immediately stands out and impacts the game.
hmm
He's a spot up shooter at as big as he is. He can play 1 through 5, which is crazy. That's the reason I think the comparisons are coming out since LeBron. Me being a homer for Braun because when he was in high school, that's when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't think there's another prospect. I don't know if there ever will be a better prospect than LeBron to come out of. I mean, he came out of high school too. Like just to preface that, high school and what he did in high school and what he was doing in high school at his young age. Like if you haven't played basketball, dunking is hard enough.
true.
Like dunking under the legs in like sophomore year of high school, like throwing it back like LeBron did. It's like, dude, what? But Vic is a player that is a potential generational talent and a basketball fan, it makes me excited for him to come into the league and see him. And when you already have all of these guys giving him massive props, I've seen so many videos from Sports Center and so many videos with like NBA stars talking about his game. You know he's going to be nasty.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like his measurables are insane. I don't know him off the top of my head, but he's like 7'2". His wingspan's crazy, and like you were saying, he can play like almost anywhere on the court. And he's like by position a center, but he kind of has like that Jokic in him. He can pull up from three. He can play down low. He can like take mid range jumpers. And I think in his last like French game, he had like a fadeaway three. It was absolutely disgusting. He's very talented. And as a Spurs fan, I was hoping I'm like, okay, let's get top three because I know the top three players in this draft are really good. Um, if you depending on who you rank them, there's like Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller, and Brandon Miller was the only one who actually went to college at Alabama, but He's really fun to watch. Scoot Henderson's a guard, and he's really, really good. Uh, but Victor's just on another level. I don't know what else to say. I'm really happy. I'm excited for the beginning of the season.
You build your franchise off of him, and
Oh yeah,
it's pretty simple. And you better myself. Pop is the best coach in the NBA. Coached so many. Just look at his resume. I mean, he was Team USA coach, so pretty much every single great that's in the last decade, the dude is coached. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good fit. I think they're going to have to add obviously around a lot around him to get to that competing level. But we'll see how good he is, right? Like
yeah,
when LeBron came in the league, he competed immediately. You know what I mean? Is Vic going to be the same? You see some of these guys like a Lamelo that come in and compete immediately, but then you also see some guys that kind of take a while
yeah.
to kind of get in the NBA and everything. And you know, with KD, he didn't really. They said, oh, he has to put on weight before he goes in the NBA, and he's one of the best shooters of all time. And I mean, of course, he put on some weight from college, but he didn't change his game like they said he had to. So I'm interested to see Vic, and as a basketball fan, I'm stoked. Jumping to the Stanley Cup playoffs, NHL, we got Florida and Carolina. Florida took down Toronto 4-1, and Carolina took down the Devils 4-1 as well. Carolina, it's going to be a hell of a series. Florida, I cannot believe they are still there. I did
Right.
not even have it. They shouldn't even have made the playoffs on being almost the Stanley Cup final. You know, four wins away from being in the Stanley Cup final. But Carolina is a different breed. Carolina is a very fast hockey team, a very disciplined hockey team. What Florida does is they essentially drag you down to their level, and they have Kachuk, and he brings you down, you know, to that level. But with Carolina, they've just steamrolled everybody.
Yeah,
Like they only have they have 8 wins and 3 losses so far in the playoffs. That's a pretty solid record.
that's crazy.
Being 4 games away from the Stanley Cup Finals. Do you have anything on that series, Tanner, with Carolina and Florida?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really fun. I think Florida has to get out to an early leader. I think Carolina is gonna just stomp them and close them out pretty quickly. Um, if I had to pick, I don't know. Carolina looks too good, and I really like their jerseys, so I'm gonna go Carolina.
New hockey fan in the building, Tanner. Yeah, I'm obviously going Carolina. I think that Carolina makes it to the Cup, and I think that Carolina takes them out in 5 or 6. Probably I'll say 6, just because Florida is gonna take at least 1 or 2. And then jumping over to the other side, we had Dallas who beat Seattle in a thrilling Game 7. Good.
That was crazy.
Congratulations there to the hometown Dallas Stars. And then Vegas against the Oilers. Vegas was just too much. Jack Eichel, the star for Vegas, first playoffs he's ever been in, and is just out here putting the team on his back at points and playing incredible hockey. Such a fun series to watch with the Oilers. You don't want Connor McDavid to be out of the playoffs, Leon Draisaitl to be out of the playoffs with the Oilers, but they are. Same thing on the other side. You don't want Austin Matthews to be out of the playoffs, but they are, and no Canadian team is there anymore. So, like I said, we got Vegas, and Vegas is like a wagon right now. They look like a wagon, but I can't pick against a team that literally lived up the road for and have been to many hockey games over the years. And I'm going to take Dallas in 7 in this series. Who do you got, Tanner?
That's crazy. I didn't think you were gonna go Dallas for this one.
I have to be a homer. I just
It's
have to.
fair.
The hockey nerd in me says I want Vegas, but I have to pick Dallas.
I mean, yeah. The thing about Dallas is if they want to win this series, what you saw a lot of in that specifically Game 7 and just that series overall with Seattle is they just had so many chances, man, and they need to put them away if they want a chance to get to the cup because they're just so many like missed opportunities on power plays, just so many like open nets that they just kind of dink off the crossbar. I really think if they want to get into the cup, I think Jason Robertson needs to start playing the level that he played during the season, and they need to convert on their chances. But I got Dallas in 7. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, and Dallas has the best goaltending in the playoffs so far with Ottinger, so he's the reason
Yeah,
that they're there. You know what I mean? Goalies can absolutely steal games in the playoffs. It's every hockey player growing up knows that. You know, jumping to the NHL lottery, we had the essentially Connor Bedard lottery. Somehow Chicago won. Uh,
crazy.
original team won. They need a lot of help, but we'll see what happens with Chicago. Do I think they're going to be in the playoffs next year? No. Connor Bedard is another player like Vic. He's a generational talent. He is one of the best prospects to come out since Crosby, since McDavid. But he's his numbers that he had this year were absolutely unbelievable. It's just that the big question on him is his size, because he's not the biggest player. But we'll see what happens. I think he's going to be great in the NHL. And welcome to Chicago, Connor Bedard.
Was it like
Now jumping.
what was that draft lottery? Was that like the similar thing where it's just like the highest percentage chance for the pick went to that team, or was it a team that was outside of that?
It was not, the number one team did not get the number one pick. Chicago was not supposed to get the number one overall pick, but they did.
But
The other team supposed to get number one. It's blanking on me. I don't remember how it was. Essentially, sort of like the NBA
yeah.
lottery, except they don't use the ball. The machine.
Yeah, that thing.
I think it. I don't remember who it was. I have to look it up. Who number two was? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on it. But yeah, no, like wasn't supposed to get number one, and Chicago got number one. Everybody's like, "Are you joking? Like, come on!"
Yeah.
Oh, Anaheim. That's who it was. Duh. Anaheim
Oh,
was supposed
okay.
to get it, and
Yeah.
and the reason I wanted Anaheim to get it was because they have a nasty the new face of the league. He actually was on NHL 23. Trevor Zegras, the video game, and him, Zegras, and Bedard would be sick because Zegras can play left wing or center, and so you have Bedard that's going to come in and play center. So it's like would have been a nasty lineup, but now he goes to freaking Chicago. San Jose had a shot. I was hoping from the outside, but they didn't get it. If San Jose would have got Connor Bedard, dude, go man. I'd have bought that jersey. I'd have bought that jersey yesterday if that would have happened. But
Hell yeah.
yeah, like I said, I don't see him competing for the playoffs anytime soon. But with a player like Connor Bedard, if you have a couple other good players in that draft or a couple drafts down the road, you're looking like a good team for years to come. So now we're going to NFL division winners.
Well,
Tanner and I.
hold on. There's one
What
more
you
thing we
want to
got to
keep going
talk.
about Bedard?
No. There's one more thing we got to talk about before Champions
What?
League final
Oh,
is set.
Champions League. I literally completely forgot about Champions League. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had two games. It was the second leg of both Champions League games, and Inter Milan, starting with the first one, they kind of destroyed AC Milan. I don't think AC scored a single goal in the entire series, which is kind of sad because I picked
A
them,
bit.
so that was pretty bad. But Inter looks really good. They're a good team. Don't get me wrong, but on the other side, you got City. And I think they won like 5-1 aggregate, which is nuts because they won like 4-0 today. And yeah, it's that I watched that match and Real just didn't look good at all. They looked really bad. In fact, it was pretty disappointing because I don't know. I thought Real had a little bit more kick than that. But City, yeah, they're probably gonna win unless Inter pulls something crazy out of like their Italian hats. But I I don't know. What are you thinking about this final?
I think that Inter. I hope they win. That's who obviously
Yeah,
who I'm rooting for. I hope Inter wins. Big time. I don't think City is this one though,
yeah,
because I mean, to cap off the best season potentially of all time from a forward, with Holland, it's no better way to do it than winning the Champions League. So we'll see what happens in the final. I want Inter to win very badly, but I'm gonna pick City, and I think City just in pretty much every aspect is better.
yeah,
I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Inter, and if they want to win, I think that they just have to somehow control possession, and
yeah.
kind of slow it down a little bit because you can't let City get going, and you especially Holland get going because he's like a freight train, and good luck stopping that.
I completely agree. I mean, this is the best chance City has had since ever. So like
It's true.
they I they don't drop these. I'm not gonna say easy games because it's not an easy game, right? This is a good team in Inter Milan, but they don't drop the games that they're supposed to win. That's just what City does. They're a good team and they've been doing it for years. And uh, this is it. Like if you're a City fan, get really excited because this is probably when you're winning the Champions League.
Exactly. But let's go enter. Now jump into the NFL division winners. So Tanner and I each picked our division winners. We'll see how similar it is. I have no idea who he picked. Gonna start it off. So AFC East. I'm gonna start with
Okay.
Tanner. I had the Bills winning that one. I'm assuming you also had the Bills winning the AFC East.
For the AFC East, yeah, I had the Bills. But I think it's worth mentioning that the Jets, make a push in my scenarios. It's not going to be close between them and the Jets, but they give them a little run for their money.
I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty close division. I think it'll be closer than a lot of people think. I still think Buffalo wins the division by about 2 games.
Yeah.
But you have the Jets and the Dolphins. That's
Oh yeah.
really close to me. I honestly could see this division being the division where 3 teams make the playoffs next year, kind of like the NFC East did last year,
Hmm.
because the Dolphins with that offense, the only thing standing in their way is a quarterback injury because their defense got upgraded this offseason. So and they had a pretty solid draft. So Dolphins look really good. The Jets, you have no idea what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. You have no clue.
That's true.
But it's Aaron Rodgers, and it seems to me like his last kick at the can. So I don't see him going away quietly. I don't see the Jets having an 8-8 record, negative record. You know what I mean? I have the Jets. I don't know, right? Like we picked the Jets when we talked about them in the previous pod, but it's tough. It's a really tough situation because you just have no idea how he's going to play, and he's been one place his entire career.
Hmm.
And you see Russ, and I'm not comparing Russ to Aaron Rodgers, but what I'm saying is you see Russ go to a team and take a literal fall off of a cliff in one season, and then they bring in Sean Payton for a first round pick and like, hey, we spent a lot of money, please help us here.
Yeah.
And now you have the Jets who have really good young talent, really, really good young talent. Aaron Rodgers brings out the best in young. I mean, they have Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah.
have Garrett Wilson, and
He's
they
really
have.
good.
I think it's. I did this last pod. Brees Hall.
Yeah.
Those two alone make an offense. You know what I mean? And you have Aaron back there. So with a solid defense, great defensive line, so it's going to be a fun division. Like I said, I think a lot of these teams. I think Bills, like I said, are going to win by 2 games, I think. But then I think you have the Jets and the Dolphins are 1 game apiece, and I think this division record is going to be extremely important for second and third.
Yep. I completely agree. I think the Patriots are in trouble, is what I'm hearing.
Fourth, yeah, they're fourth, and there's for those of you who don't know, there's 4 teams in each division. Patriots are
Yeesh.
fourth.
Sorry to hear that.
Sorry for my Pats fans and our Pats listeners, but you guys won like 5. Okay, you won 5. That's a really good. You're in arguably one of the best divisions in football after this season. After this season, in my opinion, it's going to be incredible. But then Aaron's going to leave in a couple years. See what happens. Then jumping to the AFC North. I think this one's Tanner and I are going to pick the same. I had the Bengals winning, but let me say I do have the Ravens being very, very close behind, and I'm going to have a hot take. I have their record this year 1-1 against each other. I think they split games in the division.
Yeah, I also have Cincy winning the division. I think they're going to be really good this year, and I think Joe Burrow is going to take that next step to put him potentially in contention with Mahomes. So, I mean, he's already up there. Don't get me wrong, because we did our quarterback rankings, but I think it's going to get the gap's going to get a little bit closer, is what I'm alluding to. But the thing about Baltimore and Cincy is like just looking at like because one of my best friends is a Cincy fan, so he's always just watching those games and rooting for his Who Dey Bengals. But the Ravens always give the Bengals a pretty good fight, even if they don't, let's say win the game, just because you have the dynamic aspect of Lamar Jackson whenever they play. Like they played in the playoffs this past season, and the Bengals didn't lose, obviously, but it was the Ravens took it to them. The Ravens defense. I'm not saying that they have like a handle on Joe Burrow, but they've played him enough times, and they know how to game plan against him, whether it works or not.
No, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I mean with the Ravens, they're just a great defensive team, and I
Yeah,
honestly think Lamar Jackson, even though he's the highest paid player, was the highest paid player ever, then Jalen jumped him, I think.
other way,
Yeah,
other way around.
other way,
Yeah.
opposite way. Um, Yeah, with Lamar being that player, he has something to prove. And I
Uh-huh.
think that, in my opinion, when you sign top 5 money, top 10 money, when you sign a massive contract to where you are agents, and me, I say go for the bag. If I'm the pro player, go for the bag. You know what I mean? I'm not
Of
trying to say
course.
don't go for the bag, but if you have Lamar Jackson being that high paid and you get knocked out in the first round, it's not acceptable. It is a minimum conference championship, division championship, minimum, bare minimum. You should be one game away from the Super Bowl, and that is I think some fans would say it would be a failed season because sign that deal and Dallas, still hasn't made it back to the big dance. It's like, well, it sucks, but Lamar Jackson, I think, great weapons. They have Rashad Bateman, they have Odell Beckham. They drafted the literal Brown lookalike. I can't think of his name. I'll go back and look at it, but a good team. You have a really good team, and I honestly think, like you said, to bring it back to your original point with Joe Burrow jumping up to the Patrick Mahomes level, I agree. I think that Joe Burrow is going to be a number 2 or number 3, depending on where Josh Allen is. I always have Mahomes at 1, but number 2, number 3, Lamar right there. So I think that you're going to have 2 quarterbacks, top 5 quarterbacks in this one division, playing at a very high level next season, of course, barring any injuries. And the thing with me is I think the Ravens are a better defensive team. And the Bengals have showed that sometimes their offensive line can't hold the Ravens specifically. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I'm leaning on him. But then jumping down to, the Browns and the Steelers, I do think Deshaun Watson starts playing at a higher level. I think that, I'm not even going to, I don't even want to get into if I think he should still be on the field or not. But Deshaun Watson, like, very good football player. And when he came in the league, his first couple of years was easily a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he's getting paid a lot of money, and it's time to go. And I think with his offseason, I've been keeping up with his offseason stuff. Like he's going hard. And so
He should
if
be.
I'm yeah, if I'm a Cleveland fan, it's going to be hard to get. You're not getting first in the division.
No.
You could maybe steal second if Deshaun gets going very early on in the season. But I see Cleveland sitting there at number 3, and then I really am not in the Kenny Pickett train. But they have a head coach with Mike Tomlin who always somehow is positive. So I see this also being a really good division, and I could easily see the Browns dropping down to the 4th spot. But I think it's going to be the Browns and the Steelers kind of fighting it out for the last part of that division.
I think that's completely right. And that's just kind of how it has been recently, right? Um, and I think that's just kind of stay that way because you play against these division opponents, and if you're the Browns, you have the Steelers who they're not a great team right now, but they're not a bad team. You know, they're still a team that's going to go out and they might be able to beat you. Just because Mike Tomlin is that good of a head coach and they've got a really great system that they've been building for a long, long, long time. And the other two teams, like we said, they're probably going to make the playoffs. So if you're Cleveland, you got to win some games here. You gotta at least make a mark, and you got to win some games that you're not supposed to win. So we'll see if Cleveland can do it. But what division do you want to jump to next?
And jumping to the AFC South, I think that that's one of the worst divisions of football. No disrespect to anybody there, but I think the Jags are a clear favorite,
Hmm.
especially with what they did last season. I also think that Trevor Lawrence, for those fantasy football listeners out there, I think that Trevor Lawrence and Bijan Robinson, literal, they're going to be the fantasy numbers are going to be nuts this year. I think Trevor Lawrence is also going to take that next step, and I also think that the other quarterback in his class when he was drafted, Justin Fields, is going to take that step as well. But I think that the Jags are easily going to be the winner of that division. I think the Texans are a couple years away. Colts, I mean, they have a really good run game with Jonathan Taylor. But other than that, they have Michael Pittman. You know what I mean? With on the offensive side of the ball, defense is okay. Oh, actually, no, defense is solid. Their defense is really solid. But I'm not jumping on the Colts or Titans this year at all. And the Titans, they're going to play quarterback. They have Ryan Tannehill. They have Will Levis that they drafted, and then they also have Malik Hooker
Yep.
drafted in the top couple rounds. Like, who are you going to play? In the Derrick Henry rumors, like I start to see this being kind of the not going to be seeing Tennessee in the playoffs in the coming years, in my opinion. I think they start to decline.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, when you look at this division, you have 3 out of the 4 teams that have a newly drafted quarterback from this recent draft, which is kind of nuts. And it's a young division, and these guys need time. I think it just makes too much sense to pick the Jags here. They were good at the end of the season last year. They got a good running start, and Trevor Lawrence, he's got confidence, man. He's starting to get into this NFL quarterback kind of thing. And he's playing really well, and he's got a really good surrounding team. So I think it's easy. I think the Jags win it by a landslide.
100%. And I mean, like in Indianapolis, like the Texans, I also think they're a couple years away. Like,
Yeah,
the Texans have C.J. Stroud, like Tanner said, quarterback, drafted, and then the Colts went and got Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida, who had like less than I think 20 games in college, 15 games in college. You have these guys, C.J. Stroud, opposite end of the book. There, he has a lot of starts, and is probably going to be a day one starter in Houston. With the Colts and Anthony Richardson, I don't think he sees the field this year. So I think that Colts fans, you're kind of waiting to see if Anthony Richardson is going to be that next Lamar Jackson, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. Then going to the AFC West, the last division in the AFC.
this one's tough.
This is a tough one. This is a tough one, but I think I have the Chiefs on that one.
Yeah.
I have the Chiefs taking it. You can't pick against Mahomes, and then obviously I think Tanner and I are going to go same as number 2. I got the Chargers going at 2, just it's especially with the weapons that
Yeah.
they added. Did you have the Chargers too, or did you have the Broncos
Um,
or the Raiders?
I didn't. I mean, I didn't. The Raiders were not a consideration. I'll say that now. Sorry, Jimmy G. And they lost their, tight end and Darren Waller. But yeah, it's just you can't pick against the Chiefs. Obviously, that's who I went here.
No,
But the Chargers got better a lot this offseason, and they have a really
yeah,
good
they
team
did.
on paper that a lot of people kind of forget about. Justin Herbert's that guy, and I don't think they're going to make a division or a push for the division title per se, but it's gonna happen. One of these in the next couple years, they're gonna take it off of KC. Um, I'm not. I don't think it's gonna be this year because they just look. They just won the Super Bowl. Like how are you gonna pick against them? But
You can't.
you can't. And they Mahomes is Mahomes. He's one of the goats of our generation, right? So no, obviously not. But yeah, the Chargers, they're gonna be close and they're gonna be a good team this season.
Yeah, 100%. And then with the Chargers and their weapons, especially that they even added during the draft, they arguably added the number 1 wide receiver out of
That's
TCU with
crazy.
Quentin Johnson, and they already have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. It's like team is already so good offensively, and then Austin Eckler, like the trade rumors just kind of go away. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
come on back, it's all good.
We
And
got another shot at
he's
this.
back there. You got Justin Herbert out there. You got that kid's nasty.
Oh
That's
yeah.
a top 10 quarterback in the league. One that I got wrong coming out of Oregon. I knew he was going to be good. I didn't think he was going to be this good, especially this early. But yeah, another really good division. I got the Broncos being 3, and yeah, no disrespect to the Raiders, but I think you're down there at 4. I mean, this is the breaking point for Russell Wilson. It's just that simple. Last season was not only bad, it was so much worse than anybody ever anticipated. Um, and nobody really saw it coming. But he did not have a good season last year, and now he has a coach that is one of the best quarterback coaches in Sean Payton, and they traded a first round pick to get him, and are paying him a lot of money to be there. So if anybody can turn this franchise around, it's Sean Payton. But Russ has got to step it up. Once again, no clue what happened going from Seattle to Denver. It may have taken him a year to get in there. Tom Brady doesn't matter. He's like, I'll just go to Tampa, win a Super Bowl first year. But what do you think with this Broncos team? Do you think they're going to be better than last year, worse than last year?
I think it's hard to be worse. Let me say that.
True. That's
um,
pretty true.
but no, they have to be better, right? I mean, I think Sean Payton's gonna get him right. He's a really good coach, and he's just. I mean, he's worked with a lot of amazing Hall of Fame level players. So it, it's hard to say that with Russ right now that he would be a Hall of Fame level player, but he has talent. It's obvious. He's won a Super Bowl and he's been to another one, and he he's a good quarterback. I don't know what happened. Where did he go? Like, did he just put in his stunt double? Is he doing like a State Farm commercial on the side, like Aaron Rodgers likes to do? You know what I mean? But no, I think they're gonna be better. By how much? I don't know. I don't know. Will they make the playoffs? Probably not.
It's tough in the AFC. I think if they're an
Yeah,
NFC team, they do, but
there's a lot
AFC
of
right
good
now
there's a
is
lot of good
absolutely
AFC
stacked.
teams, and a lot of them that are not going to win their divisions.
It's true. That's very true. Like we just said, Chargers being one of them is going to alone. That's just
Yeah, in your own
such a
division.
good
Like, come
team.
on,
And
you
yeah,
got to play those
literally
guys.
in your yeah twice a year. So out going down to the NFC, we're not going to hit the NFC East first. We're going to save that one for last. We're going to go NFC North. I got the Vikings in that one. I got the Vikings winning that one. The Lions, I think, right behind them at number 2. The Bears at number 3, and the Packers at number 4. I think the Packers go from being the top for the last decade practically the opposite. They're down there at 4 just because I do think that Chicago with Justin Fields, the quarterback there, is going to take another step. I think he's going to be more consistent. I think they're going to win more football games. The Lions, it's hard not to like that team,
Yeah, of course.
especially with what they did in the draft. And they went and got their guys, and they are playing really really well right now. So everybody's behind the coach. You know what I mean? It's a team that has kind of a buzz around it. You know what I mean? That's why I have them at number 2 and not number 3. But I really think that the Vikings are going to be the clear winner here. All Kirk has to do is just give the ball, just throw it up to Justin Jefferson, and then if he doesn't feel like throwing it, he can just hand it off to Dalvin Cook. So it's like in their offensive line is pretty stacked. Their defense is pretty solid. They've got great tight ends. You know what I mean? So it's like the Vikings are a very very good team, and I think that you saw that last year. They did fall off at the end of the season, but yeah, man. I mean, I think the Vikings. I think the Vikings take it. Is it, what 11-6 season? Probably not. You know what I mean? Probably like a 10-7, I could say. Yeah, I could see like a 10-7 with the Vikings, but not in the NFC North.
I also have the Vikings. I think again, it's just with the Packers leaving, it's hard not to pick the Vikings because they've kind of been the runner-ups for a while now. And Kirk's been playing at a really pretty high level, I would say. And he's been leading this team, and he's even had some really big regular season wins, which I think you're going to see a lot of in this upcoming season. And he's going to lead them to another division title. The Lions, I think, are also a close second, but I don't really know about the Bears. I'm not sure. I don't know what to expect from this team just quite yet. I need to see it happen before I'm a believer in this whole system. But who's the other team in that division? Who?
Packers.
Oh, the Packers. Duh. I already said them, but I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. I, Jordan Love. I don't know. Who is he?
I mean, he's been on the bench for a long time
Yeah,
now, and he
exactly.
just got paid $20+ million. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens with the Packers. I do agree with you. I do think that they don't necessarily have anywhere close to the strongest season that they've had in recent years. Now, hey, we could be wrong, and Jordan Love could walk into
That's
that
true.
system and be just fine. But I don't see them. I don't see them at least getting first in the
I
division. And
think
like I said, I see
I
them toward the bottom.
I think with Minnesota, this is their division to lose, really. If I think they can beat Detroit, and at least split them with the series throughout the season, and I mean they're in the NFC, so there's a lot of opponents that they're going to play that are not necessarily the best in the league, right? Just by the nature of our conference, the AFC is stacked, and the NFC is kind of not. So I mean, the Vikings have a pretty good shot. This is kind of wide open for them, and it's like I said, it's kind of like a trap year, if you want to say, for them.
True. That's very true. And Justin Jefferson too. He's not slowing down anytime soon. Dalvin Cook, the only thing that's going to slow him down is injuries.
Yep,
But yeah, Vikings are a really good team. Then we jump to the NFC South. This one was really hard for me.
I know, I know.
This was by far the hardest one for me. I have the Bucks taking it. The only reason I have the Bucks taking it is because of defense. That's the only reason I have it. What do you have on this division, Tanner, with the NFC South?
I'm just saying. It sounds like you're believing in the man who is dangerous, the Bake Show, Mister Magic over there from Cleveland, and now in Tampa Bay. He's gonna lead this team to a Super Bowl. I'm kidding. um, I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard. I had the Saints going, and I had
Okay.
them taking it out just because Derek Carr is a veteran in this league. I don't think crazy highly of him at this point in his career, but I think he's better than the other teams there. I mean, you have Carolina, who is has a new quarterback, so I don't know what they're gonna do. So naturally, I'm gonna rate them lower. Um, who else is in that division? Oh yeah, Tampa Bay, and then the Falcons. Falcons are going to be good, but like you said with a bunch of other teams, they're going to need time. It's not just going to turn around in 1 year. But the Saints, they have a pretty good receiver core. They have Alvin Kamara. They got a pretty good line. Derek Carr's going to come into a good situation. Their defense is pretty decent, and it's not it's going to be competitive in this division. But I think Derek Carr has the weapons to make it easier.
Yeah, and like I said, I do have Tampa winning just based on defense, but I think this division is going to be like a game. I
Yeah,
think this is going to come down to the last week, last 2 weeks of the season for who wins the division. It's going to be really close. I also have the Saints going too, and then I have the Panthers at three. The Panthers at three, Falcons four. Honestly, those are interchangeable.
yeah,
The Falcons right now, like I said, Bijan Robinson, the running back out of Texas, they're using him everywhere on the field. You've already seen him lining up as wide receiver. So I think their offense is not only going to revolve around him, but he's going to be the focal point for the next 4 years.
yeah,
Because if you follow the trend of drafting running backs in the first round, the team typically runs them into the ground. So think that's going to happen with Bijan. I also think the Falcons do have a couple years away, like you
yeah.
said. But the Saints are a very, very good team. Now that we were talking about the roster and everything, I almost want to switch it. I'm not going to, but I do think that the Saints and Bucks easily split this year when they play. And like I said, I think it's one game, and it's at the very end of the season. And if that happens, you're pretty happy
Yeah.
that Derek Carr's there as your quarterback because yes, he is a veteran and he's made it to the
I
playoffs.
mean,
So
what do you think this division's going to be like based around the other divisions? Because you were talking like the AFC East earlier. You said that's going to be the best division, right? Do you think
this is
this
going
is
to be
going to be
one
the
of the
worst?
worst.
You think it's going to be the
Uh,
worst though?
I don't know about the worst. I think the AFC South. It's really hard
That's
to
true.
argue that division's not the worst division in football, but had three new quarterbacks in that division,
Hmm.
so that could completely shift around. Texans had a solid draft, so we'll see what happens with that division. But I mean,
That's true.
yeah, maybe the AFC South or the NFC South. That's kind of funny. Both the South teams, the AFC and the NFC. But yeah, those
Sh-
those two are pretty interchangeable for me. And the thing is like South, you have Derek Carr, right, and then you have a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young, and then you have Hawkins. Right, so it's like it's hard. You have Desmond Ritter there that they could potentially go in and be your guy, but that's a really tough and that's a tough division in terms of who's going positive. I'm going to be honest. I think
right?
there's going to be a lot
Right?
of I think there's going to be a lot of negative teams. I think that next year, I think that the NFC South you're going to see at least two of the teams being in the top 10, potentially in the top 5 picks. Like I really don't see this division being that good. If the Texans were smart, they would really bad again this season and then get a stupid high pick because they know how to draft now all of a sudden. And they get two drafts like they had. But Texans I think will be in the road of 6-8, or no, what is it, 6-9 now because we have 17 games. Like you know what I mean. But one not one of the best divisions, but a surprise division, I will say.
It's fun.
The NFC West, I have the 49ers winning that one. Then Seattle last year came out of nowhere with Geno. I have them at number 2, and then in the Cardinals, man, I think the Cardinals are down at 4, and I think the Rams are going to do better than them at 3 because they got a healthy Stafford coming back. They got Cooper Cup with the Rams, but I think this one is so clear that the 49ers are going to win this division. It's going to be unbelievable. I think they win by at least 3 to 4 games, but I do think Seattle makes the playoffs.
That's fair. You're not gonna like my pick then because I picked Seattle to win the division.
Okay, that's fine.
And the only reason is just because I don't really know what the 49ers are doing at quarterback right now. I love the kid that they have. What's his name? What do you remember his
Trey
name?
Lance.
No, the other kid.
Oh god. Oh, Brock Purdy.
Brock. Yeah, Purdy. I like Brock. Don't get me wrong, and he's probably going to be the starter day one. But I just don't know. He's young. He's a rookie. He's unproven. I mean, he made it to the NFC Championship game, but he beat not to be rude on our boys, but a pretty bad looking Dallas team. Um,
Sure.
and then he kind of got squashed in the NFC Championship game. Granted, he did beat Seattle by a lot, but Seattle they had a very good draft. They got one of the best corners in the draft, and they got one of the best receivers in the draft. So they just got a big position on both sides of the ball, and I, I think they can take him. I mean, Gino, he's proven that he's a good quarterback and he can make smart decisions. Their offense looks really good for no reason, and they're slowly building up their defense. And I just like what Pete Carroll's doing over there, and I respect it a lot. I think it's their time to come back into the spotlight in the NFC West. And that not to say though, obviously the Niners are probably going to make the playoffs, but it will be close. And but I think Seattle takes it. I don't know what the heck's going to happen with the other teams though.
With the Rams and the Cardinals, it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to be definitely leading the bottom of the pack. I
Yeah,
don't know if the Rams or the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs. If the Rams don't, it's definitely a failed season. Just what do they have on their team? But at the same time, I don't think the Rams are what they were, given they were one season away. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
I
one
mean,
season away from winning the Super Bowl. They won one. Already team. They bought the whole team somehow. I still don't know how they're signing players. They finessed the system there, but
and they're gone.
I don't
So
think. Yeah, and I don't think that they touch Seattle or the 49ers. I
yeah,
I think that the 49ers are gonna. I still think they're gonna take the division. I think their defense is number probably two, if not number one,
yeah.
in all of
Hmm.
football. And when you have that good of a defense and you have the weapons that they have and Christian McCaffrey and Debo Samuel and George Kittle, I think I could throw the football in their general
it's
direction. I'm not
it's
saying that
fair.
I'm not
It's
going to
fair.
complete a pass,
It's fair.
but I could throw it in their general direction. I'd get wrecked. You know what I mean? But still, it's so good. In Seattle, I want to know if it's a fluke or not because when you see these guys
It's
come
fair
out of
enough.
nowhere, and Gino's been around for a long time. West Virginia. I've followed Gino's career since West Virginia. One of the best college football games I've ever seen in my life when they beat Texas, by the way. Not just because I went to A&M, but one of the best games I've ever seen. Um, Seattle, and you have Gino, like I'm saying, Gino's had honestly one great season. That's it.
Of course.
That's it. He hasn't had easy good seasons. Now he's still in the league for a reason, right? He was in starting contention for a reason. He's always been right there. Last year he took a step and he bet on himself and something switched. He was arguably a top 5 quarterback in the league last year. And and when you have a guy like that and you have a draft like Seattle had, they're building the cornerstones around what they did in their earlier years with Richard Sherman. Now they already have some solid safeties there. Their wide receiver core is arguably one of the best in the league right now. Running back, one of the best young running backs in the league right now as well. The line's not too bad, and then the quarterback is just stepping in and having a show there, which nobody saw coming. But at the same time, I'm all about it. I love Geno Smith as a college player, and now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Can he keep it together for one, or not keep it together, but can he keep going at the rate he was going last season?
Yeah.
I don't know, right? Because like you see these guys that come out, like Dak Prescott his rookie year, right?
Hmm.
Dak Prescott destroyed everybody his rookie year, aside when he got to playoffs. Next year, completely switched. Completely switched. You saw that every team was like, okay, now I game plan for him. That you're coaching, you're drafting to beat this guy. Is that what happened this year? I don't know, but that Seattle has a cool number 2, and I think they make the playoffs too. I think we're going to see Seattle in the playoffs for the next Geno's there 2-3 years.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think when you're comparing like the Niners and the Seahawks, I mean the big question between both of those teams is, everything else is pretty solid. Granted Seattle's defense is average, but what's going to happen with these quarterbacks? You know what I mean? I think it comes down to this division title comes down to which quarterback plays better. You know what I mean? And it's just between Brock Purdy and it's between Geno Smith, and it's who can repeat their magic, right? it
Yeah.
That's pretty much the story of I think this division, really.
Yeah. I mean, the Niners defense is going to steal you at least 5 or 6.
Exactly. But
if not more than that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Those that defense, like I said, is 1 or 2 in the league. So, and with the offense, I just can't pick against them. If they got I mean, they have Trey Lance who is okay, but there's no way you can take the starting job away from Purdy. We have no idea what's going to happen there. And Gino, I don't see him having a falling off. I don't see him going away, but I there's I don't know. I want to say there's no way he can throw it literally anywhere to his top three wide receivers, and they can go yard. Every DK, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson from Ohio
It's
State,
gonna be hard to stop this
Jackson
offense.
Smith and Jigba. Like that you can't. Good. Those are such good wide receivers. So I'm excited. I'm excited to watch the NFC West now. Division, the NFC East, obviously. I picked the Cowboys to win the division. I mean, obviously, there hasn't been a repeat winner since like I don't even know.
You tricked
Um,
me.
I'm I'm
You tricked me.
I'm fully joking. I'm taking Eagles. Taking the
Oh,
Eagles
okay.
to taking the I'm totally messing with you. I'm taking the Eagles to win the division. They arguably got better. And their team was already the not even the best team in the NFC. Like it wasn't even close last year. Dallas needs to take a massive step. It could happen. I do still have them splitting in the division, but I do think the Eagles take this division by 2 games. I do think Dallas playoffs and is there at number 2, but what the Eagles did in the draft in the offseason, hard to pick against those guys. And I know that Dallas drafted every position of need, and I know we drafted some very key and nice free agents, but I don't know. That Philly team is, I think, the best team in the NFC. I really, it's them, the Niners, and the Cowboys for me. And I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to come out and the level they did last year. They feel like there's nowhere to go but down, like 16-1, like that, or they lost 2 games, I think, or so, at the end of the season. We'll see what happens. I hope I'm wrong. When I make these predictions, I'm wrong. So that's kind of another reason I picked the Eagles. I'm kind of going on, hoping I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I get it. They went to the Super Bowl. It's hard to pick against them, right? They were the best team in the NFC, and they had, I think, the best record in the NFL. So
Yeah.
when I look at this kind of the situation, I just go back to that stat that you already mentioned, which I was kind of surprised you mentioned it, but no team has been a repeat in the NFC East since like 2005, and it's one of the longest active streaks in the NFL. I checked, and I think it is the longest. But that is why I went with the Dallas Cowboys to win this division. All right. Okay, like I get it. Don't get me wrong. Philly had an amazing offseason, but you can't discount what Dallas has also done this offseason. They added a number 3 wide receiver in Brandon Cooks for cheap, absolutely almost nothing. And they got an elite shutdown corner who's still playing at a very, very good level. Don't get me wrong, it's Stephon Gilmore to add to your defense. And they added a big defensive piece in the middle of that defensive line. Now, granted, Philly, they added an amazing piece in the however many Georgia players that they got, right, on the defensive line
Yeah.
in DeAndre Swift, right, with their running backs. But I think the NFC East is a very, very competitive division, and it always has been. And I get it. I understand that the Eagles are a really good team on paper, but so is Dallas. And who often wins in the regular season? Dallas. They have had two 12-5 back-to-back seasons with Mike McCarthy, and they would have had a pretty good season if Dak hadn't got hurt during the COVID year as well. So, man, they have a lot of depth. All right, the Cowboys are a good team, and I think a lot of people are writing them off just because Philly was in the Super Bowl. The last time Philly was in the Super Bowl and they won it, they didn't go back to the Super Bowl. Remember that, and they fell off hard the next year. So it is hard for me to put him up there again. I need to see it one more time because you see it all the time in the NFL. You see these teams rise and you see these teams fall the next season. We saw it with the Falcons. We saw it
Rams.
with the Rams, right? It's a one and done kind of thing. And especially if you go to the Super Bowl and you lose in the fashion that they did on a kind of BS call, it's hard to go back to that and hard to put in all that work again, um, just to get back to the same position that you were already at. You were a drive of football away from being Super Bowl champions. And I really think it's going to be hard for Philly to repeat the same success that they had this past season. I mean, they're what, like 14-3? Like that's hard to do again. And I think Dallas is coming. I mean, they're pissed, you know. No, like I said, I think this stat is a huge stat. No one has repeated division champions in the NFC East since like 2005. Um, New York is good. They can make it the chance for it. Washington's not going to do anything, but New York can make a stance for it. I mean, Philly roster is really good, but they need to do it once more. You know what I mean? Because they had one good season, and I need to see it again. That's pretty much all I had. That's all I have. I mean, Dallas has they like this division, and they're pretty good when it comes to in division matchups. So it's hard for me to pick against them, man. And it's not me just being a homer. You know, they prove it in the regular season, and they're a regular season team. Now when it comes to the playoffs, no, they're booty. Not great at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, definitely.
And that's what
It's
separates these teams.
I mean, it's I mean, you made good points. I don't necessarily disagree with any of your points. I think that like I said, I have Dallas going to the playoffs. I have them being 1 or 2 games behind it. I do see this division being pretty close between the top 3 teams with the Giants. I don't know if 3 teams from the NFC make the same
Yeah, I don't know.
playoffs again. I like the Giants. I don't want to like the Giants because they're in the same division, but I love the Giants. I love their head coach. I think it's oh my gosh, of course I can't remember his name right when the pod comes on. I can only remember their old head coach name with
Sirianni.
McAdoo. No, that's the Eagles.
Who are you thinking of? Oh, for the
The Giants
Giants.
head coach.
Um, um,
He had a big old fat lip in
Dable,
during the draft.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
Brian
We need
Dable.
to check that.
That's his name.
That's
That's
it.
right.
That's it. One of the sickest coaches in the entire league.
He's awesome.
Literally one of the sickest coaches in the entire league. Once again, as I've on this podcast, I'm not scared of Daniel Jones. I'm sorry. I'm not scared of Daniel Jones. They don't have receivers. Defense did get better. The defense definitely got better. They got themselves a solid tight end, and they have one of the best running backs in the league when healthy. Same with Darren Waller as tight ends in the league if healthy. So the Giants, yes, if everybody stays healthy and Daniel Jones goes out there and plays like he did last season, then yeah, it could arguably be a playoff team, but that team to me doesn't make a push over Dallas because I see Dallas division record if they lose in the division, which I think they will win. I think they're going to lose, like I said, split with Philly. And then other than that, I think they're going to win out in the division.
So 7-1,
And I
or 5-1.
5-1.
Excuse me.
Yes, I have them 5-1. I don't have the Giants beating us once. I don't have Washington beating us once. And I think we split. Because you can't. That when you're Jalen Hurts and you're Dak Prescott and now Daniel Jones, because I forgot about his bag that he got this offseason. You have to win the division, or you have to be number 2 in the division. I need you can't not. Yeah, you got to make the playoffs. You know what I mean? So it could happen with 3 teams in the same division making the playoffs with the new format, but no, man, I don't know. I don't see the Giants. I don't think they necessarily took that next step to overtake Dallas, who is sitting there, in my opinion, at number 2, very very close to number 1, but I can't pick against Super Bowl Mahomes. I just can't pick against them like the Eagles. And you nailed it. They did lose by like a call on a drive. They were very in control of that game. But Patrick Mahomes also had one leg, and he was playing on one leg, and he still took you down. Won. But still, you can't. That's like even almost better than Jordan's flu game. But I don't know, man. I think the NFC East is also going to be a very very competitive division, like I was saying. But I think the Eagles are going to take them in terms of overall. I mean, that was such a good team last season, and the numbers they put up defensive wise were like historic. You know what I mean? And like I'm saying, they arguably got better on that side of the ball. So we'll see what happens. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Dallas, overtakes the division and continues to keep that streak alive. No one winning back-to-back since 05, but got probably the most motivated guy in the league with Jalen Hurts, and arguably one of the best leaders in the league with Jalen Hurts too. So Philly looks a little scary this season. Season ended and they lost all their free agents. I was like, okay, it's our division. But then after the draft, it's like, and we're back to step 1.
hey, Dallas, they got it. Happens. All right, they got it. Don't worry about it. They got it this time.
Players this year that have to perform, and CeeDee Lamb, Trayvon Diggs, like they're getting very close to the contracts too.
Contract years, yeah. They're going to perform.
So CD's going to go off this year. I think he's a lock in fantasy too. He's probably the number 1 wideout that's going to be taken this year. In my opinion, he should be. But it's going to be a fun football season. You got anything else on this division, Tanner, or anything NFL?
Not really. I mean, But I will say though, we are going to do a full playoff bracket in the next episode. So if you do want to catch that episode on Spotify or whatever, consider watching it on YouTube because I will be displaying it for everyone to see. So it's kind of, easier to follow along with, right? But we will be going and basically be putting these picks into a playoff bracket for each division winners along with um, the wild card teams, and we're going to pick who wins the Super Bowl. Way too early Super Bowl bracket. It's going to be fun. Don't miss it.
Literally, couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that wraps up another episode. Thanks everyone for the listen. Next week for more sports talk.
So yeah.